Good Saturday morning, everybody. Meteorologist Johnny Lively for our Saturday weekend edition show. We've got lots to talk about. Not much happening today, but the pattern does switch once we get into tomorrow as deep tropical moisture starts pushing into our region. Let's dive into the HB Neils Saturday morning show. You see on the Tamco Live Doppler radar, it is pretty quiet this morning, very muggy and humid, just like it has been the last couple of weeks. And that's what we do this time of year in June anyway. But if you are looking for some showers and thunderstorms, once again, these are what we call ridge riders, very active in parts of the central and northern plains. You see that severe thunderstorm watch just in the last 2 minutes, up to 300 to 400 lightning strikes going on in parts of the central plains. Some very powerful storms, but nothing going on here. You see in the Bay of Campeche, there is that area of low pressure that is going to be moving into Mexico later this afternoon. Lots of deep tropical moisture into the southern Gulf, and that's what's going to kick off a pretty stormy pattern Sunday afternoon, and this will kind of continue off and on this upcoming work week. But you see on the satellite radar, we're not seeing as much as that gold and brown, that dry air that we kind of had really the past week that kept us mostly dry. Now we're starting to see more clouds, more moisture start piling into our region, thanks to a sponsor of Tamco, Hail Guard Beyond Class 4. Temperatures, they're warm, muggy, and sticky. 80s down towards the coast. You get some 80s along the I-10 corridor, mostly into the middle to upper 70s across the general region, thanks to our sponsor of Neutron Electrical Services. Just kind of rubbing it in on how warm and sticky it is this Saturday morning. And it's going to be a pretty warm day. You can see that on the construction forecast. I don't think it's warm. It's going to be hot. Heat index is going to be anywhere from 100 to 105 degrees, I would imagine. When you get temperatures into the low 90s, it gets pretty hot. The only relief from the heat is the small, isolated to 10 to possibly 20% coverage for a passing shower or maybe an isolated storm. But other than that, just like the last really couple days this past week, it has been mostly dry, but that is going to be changing. Thanks to our sponsor of Modern Concrete, letting us know what's going on this nice hot Saturday. There's that area of low pressure in the Bay of Campeche. This is moving towards Tampico, Mexico. You can see the last 6 to 12 hours, there's a little bit of spin, and that's kind of what the Bay does. It helps kind of, you see these systems kind of off and on every year. You see the Bay kind of help with that spin. And once again, we're seeing that move into Tampico, Mexico a little bit later this morning into the afternoon. This is going to bring lots of deep tropical moisture into Mexico, South Texas, and even into our region, but we don't start seeing that until tomorrow. And then areas all along the Gulf Coast, this deep tropical moisture will continue to keep piling in. Makes for a pretty wet forecast for parts of the region along the Gulf Coast. So you see this gets into Mexico and South Texas today and tomorrow, and then there's a weak frontal boundary towards the north into parts of central Texas, into north and east Texas, and this is going to be draped all the way over into the deep south. So that lingering boundary continues to fire up storms Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday with all of that deep tropical moisture surging right into it. In other words, like science says, 101, this is the potential for some locally heavy rainfall starting Sunday evening, with the potential for the heaviest likely being on Monday and Tuesday. And this probably even sticks around once we get into parts of Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday as well too. We'll keep updating that forecast, but we look to be getting into a pretty wet pattern shaping up this week. You see that deep tropical moisture just continues to pile into our region, really off and on this whole entire week. I think our heaviest days, though, will be Monday and Tuesday. But again, we're going to continue to keep watching this. How much rain are we talking? Well, we'll talk about zoomed in closer look just in a second, but we're trying to show the heaviest definitely goes into Mexico and into parts of South Texas, just towards our southwest. But notice from parts of central Texas, East Texas, here in southeast Texas, southwest Louisiana. But look at Shreveport, Monroe, parts of Jackson, and even Alabama. That's where that lingering front's going to be. So you'll see the heaviest rain in Mexico, and then another area is along that weak frontal boundary that's going to kind of hang around Sunday through at least Tuesday into Wednesday. So a pretty wet week is shaping up for parts of the Lone Star State, all the way to Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. We'll show our rainfall totals zoomed in here in a second. Today, just a 10 to possibly 20% coverage for an isolated shower or an isolated storm, but main thing is going to be mostly dry conditions, hot conditions. Thanks for a sponsor of Switch Electric, kind of showing what's going on. And then once we lose that daytime heating, you lose the chance for those isolated storms. It's going to be a quiet, muggy Saturday night. But let's kind of do a little kind of a rough ETA or a rough model look at what's going to be happening Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So let's not lock in on this model. Just want to show kind of a rough ETA. We imagine by Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening, we're going to start getting active. I don't know if we'll be as active as what this coverage is picking up on this model, but I do believe we are going to start getting more active. 50 to 60% coverage, definitely likely on Sunday. And then I just want to continue to put this in motion. You see, a lot of this will probably stay to the north of us on Monday, but eventually that front kind of lingers further south. That's when we start getting some locally heavy rainfall Monday afternoon, Monday evening, and then we do it again on Tuesday. As long as that front stays in our area and that deep tropical moisture keeps piling into our region, we're going to have rounds of some locally heavy rain. So all we're trying to show is rain's not going to be 100% the whole entire time. Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, it's rounds off and on, not the whole entire time, thankfully. And so let's look at the rainfall totals zoomed into our area. And we'll show that here in a second. Here's our rainfall outlook. You can see today is just an isolated chance. We get to numerous starting Sunday, possibly 50 to 60% coverage. We've got 70 right now, just going off that particular model, but I think our heaviest days is really going to be Monday and Tuesday. Widespread rain across the region, and this kind of continues off and on once we get into Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday as well, too. More potential for some locally heavy rainfall can be possible. Thanks for a sponsor of Do Good. How much rain, widespread-wise? 1, if not up to 2 to 4 inches of rain seems pretty common. And remember, this is just Sunday through Wednesday. And when we talk about widespread 2 to 4 inches, these isolated areas could have some slightly higher amounts. So that's what we'll continue to keep watching. I don't think this will be a flood concern, but we will watch some of those isolated areas that can get some isolated higher amounts. That's what we'll watch for the chance for some isolated flooding. Really, that's more of the low lining and poor drainage, but we'll continue to keep watching. Afternoon, going to be hot today, getting into the low to mid-90s. Heat index, will show that in a second. It's going to be even hotter. 10 to 20% coverage for a passing shower, the only relief from the heat, and I don't think you're going to get much of it. Thanks for a sponsor of Silsby Ford. And then again, heat index anywhere from 100 to 105 degrees. Going to be a hot afternoon, and this evening going to be warm and muggy anywhere from the middle to upper 70s. Along the I-10 down towards the coast is near that 80-degree mark. Again, we are in the muggy, and summer is here pretty much. Here's our forecast for southeast Texas. Today's the last day of some pretty nice weather because we start getting pretty stormy off and on starting tomorrow, and this will last off and on pretty much throughout the whole week. How much rain? Widespread 2 to 4 inches with some isolated amounts, possibly getting even higher. Same thing for southwest Louisiana. We're enjoying today, even though it's going to be pretty hot, and then it gets pretty active, pretty wet and stormy off and on Sunday through majority of this upcoming work week. Locally heavy rainfall is definitely in the forecast. One thing about it, because of all the rain and all the clouds, temperatures no longer into the 90s. They're more so into the 80s. Good time to go download the free Gulf Coast Weather Solutions app. We're talking about the potential for locally heavy rainfall kind of off and on Sunday through parts of this work week. Go download our free Gulf Coast Weather Solutions app. It will keep you updated, letting you know when rain is moving in and when rain is moving out. And we're in hurricane season. This is a good time to keep updated with the tropics. Our app will do that for you as well, too. Have a great Saturday. We'll have more posts throughout the day, and we'll definitely continue to keep updating throughout the rest of this upcoming week. Y'all have a good Saturday. Good seeing y'all.
Gulf Coast Weather Solutions is sponsored by
At Gulf Coast Weather Solutions, we focus on delivering reliable weather forecasts. Our new app provides reliable weather updates and alerts no matter where you are. With real-time weather alerts and warnings, you can stay informed and prepared wherever you go. Download the Gulf Coast Weather Solutions app today on the App Store and Google Play and stay connected no matter where you are.